rain continues to fall on this late September evening at the confluence of three rivers. Welcome to Western Pennsylvania. Tonight's match presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. Pittsburgh welcome New Mexico, and everyone's got their rain slicker on tonight. With the Guyana International, Chris Nurse, Mike Watts on hand. The Eastern Conference standings, a pretty picture right now for Pittsburgh. 57 points. The Rowdies have a game in hand, and those two teams will meet in St. Pete on October the 7th. All the while in the Western Conference, a win for New Mexico, and you join that crush of teams on 40 points. The Switchbacks, Roots, and Monterey Bay all still to play this weekend. Chris, if you think about how this Pittsburgh team has moved to the top of the overall league standings, there have been some late dramatic winners along the way. Obregon wins a penalty, Pittsburgh goes ahead. You'd think this is in the bag against Miami FC, not so fast.
Yeah, and I think the key to this Pittsburgh team is they find a way to win even when they're not playing well. Miami FC get the equalizing goal late in this game, 86th, 87th minute, and as you can see, the 90th minute, Pittsburgh find a way to get that winning goal and walk away with all 3 points. And that's what they've done so well this season, is even in the late stages games, they never give up. They find a way to get points.
Lewis Neal said he was gobsmacked to give away that winning goal. Pittsburgh able to get Albert Dikwa at the penalty spot again. Tied for the most in the league, 17 goals.
Yeah, every successful team who's going to be number one in the regular season or go on and be successful in the playoffs needs a Dikwa in their team. They need a player who's getting 15, 16, 20 plus goals in order to have that success in the final third. And this has been their go-to guy this season.
Conversely, for New Mexico, can they get a number 9 to score at all? They brought in Borgelin. That hasn't worked, so it's Greg Hurst again tonight.
Yeah, they've had to go back to a familiar face, and of course, this is the phase of the season where it's the business end of the season. You need players who are experienced and know how to get the job done. Hopefully, they're relying on Hurst tonight. He hasn't had the best season so far in terms of goal return, but he needs to come up big tonight in order for them to make the playoffs.
All right, black and yellow, black and yellow. It is Pittsburgh and New Mexico set to meet here tonight on a rainy evening. The number 1 team in the East, the 10th place team in the West. The lineups kick off when we return after these messages and a word from your local station.
We got 8 hours of this.
At AHN, we see you juggling 100 things at once. And slowing down, taking in every moment together. We see you finding time for what's important. And realizing when it's time, you don't have to go far.
We gotta go. All right, I got you.
At AHN, we see you.
It's Fan Appreciation Night at Highmark Stadium on Saturday, September the 30th, as the Riverhounds host Tulsa. In the regular season finale, everyone in attendance has a chance to win a big prize, including season tickets for next season and a team-signed jersey. Tickets are going fast, so get yours now at riverhounds.com/tickets. That's riverhounds.com/tickets.
Come on, we're right there.
Come on, baby.
It's the only one we need.
Touchdown!
Are your neighbors watching the same game?
Yeah, my 5G home internet delays the game a bit, but you get used to it. Try these. They're noise-canceling earmuffs. I stole them from an airport.
There's always something with you, man.
Great! Solid!
Greek salad?
Exactly!
Don't delay the game with T-Mobile 5G home internet. Catch it on the Xfinity 10G network.
Okay, this is really happening. We're going to the Museum of Play. Do I start in the video game arcade, go to the aquarium, play superhero, or visit Sesame Street? What about the train? Legos, spaceships, giant puppets. We're not even out of the driveway and I'm already freaking out. Ah!
With so much to do and see, everyone loves the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Welcome back. There's a look at the Roberto Clemente Bridge. Busy as ever on this Saturday night. Tonight's game presented by the Allegheny Health Network. It's the Riverhounds taking on New Mexico. Roberto Clemente Jr., one of the directors of the Clemente Foundation, is on the field as the honorary pregame coin toss captain. Let's get ready to roll for this one with Chris Nurse, Mike Watts on, and take a look at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds starting lineup. It's presented by Armina Stone. it is an unchanged lineup for Bob Lilly. That hasn't happened since March, Chris.
Yeah, approaching this end of the postseason, you want to have consistency in your lineup. You want the players to have that cohesion, that chemistry, that understanding between each other. So not having changed the lineup in the past 2 games is kind of indicative in the direction that they're heading, and Bob Lilly really starting to fine-tune this team and get them prepared for the playoffs.
All right, conversely, the Armina Zone starting lineup for New Mexico United. They have made changes. They've done it up front with Hurst and Jacobo Reyes. Brought Justin Portillo back in too.
Yeah, we always talk in the game about playing every game like it's your last. And this is exact mentality and focus that New Mexico United have to be in right now. If they want to make the playoff, every game they have to approach with the mentality it's their last. Hurst is the man trusted up top to try and get the goals tonight. They're coming to a very difficult place. Pittsburgh only lost 1 home game all season. It's going to be challenging, but they have to find a way to get the job done.
Keys to the game are brought to you by the premium light lager that embodies all thing black and gold. IC Light. Continue that winning momentum, right?
Yeah, that's key for Bob Lilly's team coming into the postseason. They want to maintain that winning mentality. They want to maintain that cohesion and that good feeling of winning games. Imperative in being successful in the playoffs. On the other hand, for New Mexico, I find that this stadium being so hard to win and get points away against Pittsburgh, getting the first goal is going to be key to them having success. However, we know that this Pittsburgh team is a never-say-die mentality, and that first goal still may not be enough.
Riverhounds start with the ball tonight from Highmark Stadium, underway in mid to late September, where the games seem to count for double. Riverhounds top of the East. Welcome New Mexico, trying to get to the playoff line in the West. You and I were watching from our comfy booth tonight, and we see the long sleeves, and we realize we have indeed gotten to the business end of the season.
Yeah, and I think that the players actually appreciate September a little bit more than maybe June or July, because the temperature drops a little bit. It's not that cold, but it actually gives you a little bit more energy because you can now not get exhausted so easily as you do in the summer when it's so hot. I think the players really enjoy this part of the season a little bit more than the midsummer.
Ball driven away by Andy Thomas, who starts for the 5th time this season. Ball snuffed out by Ibarra. Notably tonight for Pittsburgh, a win or a draw, and that's an obvious early yellow card. They've booked Kalen Ryden for his 7th yellow of the season.
Yellow card at number 22 for New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a really early stage of the game to get a yellow card. I think it's justified. You can see he gets beaten there by Dequer, and he pulls him down. Silly foul to give away, and really puts him in a difficult situation for the remainder of the game, because if he makes one more mistake now, he's having an early shower, so has to be very careful now for the remainder of the game.
Early set piece for the Hounds. Driven into the penalty area, the header is wide from Joey Farrell.
That wasn't far away at all.
That's a delightful effort from the Hounds center back.
Griffin whips this ball in delightfully, just leaves it there at the near post to be attacked. He does ever so well to get his head on that Farrell, but just guides it inches wide of the post. But that's a huge let off for New Mexico in the opening 2 minutes of the game. Pittsburgh started off very aggressively.
Now, notably tonight for the Hounds, a win or a draw, they guarantee their first home championship playoff game since 2019, a top 4 slot in the postseason. It could also be a Memphis or a Louisville loss or draw that would seal that fate as well. And Louisville does trail against Loudoun United on the road. Zach Ryan has scored outside DC. This would have been to an offside position for Hurst. They're playing in those tropical storm conditions that we've seen wave through the entire eastern seaboard this week.
And those games are sometimes the most dangerous games. You're looking at Louisville, Loudoun. Loudoun are in a phase where they don't have too much to lose in terms of their standings. Players are playing for their futures, they're playing for contracts, and sometimes having that freedom of not having too much to lose allows them to play with a little bit more freedom and creativity than they would normally. And obviously that can be a little bit unpredictable for the opponent. So Loudoun leading 1-0 against Louisville with 33 minutes played. Still a long time to go in that game, but definitely a surprise in the result right now.
Pressure applied. New Mexico gained a bit of ground. Well, they thought they had. Now they will. Rivas a quick throw, too quick.
I think how New Mexico approached this game is going to be interesting. You know, New Mexico are in a almost desperate situation where they're the team that needs to be the aggressor in this game. They're the ones that it's absolutely imperative for them to get the 3 points. So far, Pittsburgh have been most on the front foot and playing with the aggression and the urgency. But it's going to need to be New Mexico to take the game by the bull by the horns in order to get the 3 points that they need.
Reyes wins a free kick off Ibarra. It's been interesting watching New Mexico under Eric Quill, took over mid-season, try and become a more possession-oriented team, follow what they did so well at North Texas. You know, a lot of teams would describe it as Red Bull-esque, the Troy Lesane era that led into Zach Prince previous. And it feels like they're trying to make changes to the roster to begin that transition into the offseason while still having their eyes very much on the postseason now. It's a fascinating juxtaposition of motive that I'm not sure players really think about necessarily.
I think Pittsburgh.
That's a big ball over the top, chested down, but out of the reach of Greg Hurst.
Pittsburgh obviously sit first in the Eastern Conference now, and Bob Lilly is probably one of the longest-serving head coaches in the USL Championship, if not the longest-serving head coach. And you know what you're going to get with a Bob Lilly team. You know they're going to be disciplined. You know they're going to be organized. You know the wide players are going to be good in 1v1 situations. But somehow, despite knowing how the team is going to look, how they're going to play, he still finds a way to win. And I think that's indicative of Bob Lilly as a head coach, is that he's so good at what he does. The opponents know how they're going to play and what they're going to do, but they still find a way to win the game.
That's Ryden being attended to.
Was I right on my Bob Lilly stat there? Longest serving head coach in the USL Championship?
I'm looking to double check it because he's approaching, well, he's crossed 100 wins. He's approaching now 200 games at the helm here. And yeah, by 9 months over Tommy Son.
It's an incredible accomplishment. When you look at the average head coach, I think the turnover is maybe 16 months is the average tenure for a head coach. To be in a position that long and also to be successful is a huge credit to Bob Lilly and what he's accomplished with the USL Championship.
The 10 to 24 coaches in the league were in position game one last year. It's been a rather quick trigger for a number of franchises looking for the right answers. Pittsburgh know what they have. Portillo got a touch.
And I think that turnover also comes into consideration when coaches are recruiting. Of course, they need talented players, but they also need players who they can trust and rely on. You can see that the turnover is so quick. You have to be able to trust the players that you're putting out in the field to follow the directions that you're giving them and be able to deliver.
Rivas reverses Hamilton. Pittsburgh upfield, Keza out of his reach. By the way, Eric Quill, you might think, wow, he only just got here 3.5 months ago. He's already longer tenured than 3 other coaches. Lewis Neal, Mead Namazi at Hartford, and then Nicky Law took over as the interim down in Tampa Bay after Neil Collins left in a brief stint under a different assistant coach. Nicky Law is actually the only coach in the league with a better point per game average than Bob Lilly, but give him longer than a month. We'll see if it holds. Maybe a chance from distance. That's turned away from Reyes. Hernandez holding off Kizza. And out by Etu. There's Eric Quill. What a job he did in North Texas. I think there's a lot of excitement about what's to come here for New Mexico. Storga, free kick for New Mexico United.
Looked like Hernandez there weaving his way through traffic there, drawing free kick. 3 defenders around him, and somehow some good footwork finds his way through. I think it's Forbes there who clips his ankles and brings him down. Some nice individual play there from Hernandez.
Whistle came from Elvis Osmanovic. who's seemingly doing about 5 games a week. I wonder what that goop is. Worry about that in a moment. Portillo. Zico Bailey. Did you see that on his chest?
On Bailey's chest?
Yeah, on Portillo's.
No.
Looks like hair gel, maybe. Whistle's going against Rivera.
The game's kind of settled down a little bit after the opening 2 minutes. Pittsburgh were very aggressive and forward-thinking in the opening 2 minutes, and now the past 10 minutes or so, the game's been played a lot in the midfield rather than going end-to-end with the goalkeepers. And New Mexico actually starting to find a little bit of grounding and footing in the game, connecting a few passes and building their confidence gradually.
This is a tad more direct from New Mexico. Hurst making the central run. It's overtaken by Ordonez. Vera got a touch. Rivas. Clever sidestep, Hurst. That's a corner here for New Mexico. Bob Lilly, as we now know, the longest tenured in the championship. And the highest points per game of any guy who's coached for longer than 2 months in the championship. Of course, before this, Rochester and a elongated career dotting the soccer map. Quantum Spirits corner kick to come. Out in front of the Paul Child stand. Portillo.
Hurst again getting his head to this one. Portillo delivering the out swinging corner. On these 2 deliveries so far, you've seen Pittsburgh have been the better team, or the most aggressive team attacking the ball when it comes aerial into the box. We saw early in the game an opportunity. We see now New Mexico having an opportunity. Tit for tat right now in this game. Can't really say who looks like they're more likely to get the opening goal.
Waite drives it away. Ryden got a touch. And the Riverhounds extend down the line. Forbes. Header snap down and nearly for Dequa. Leaves his feet for it, doesn't make contact, and Thomas in control.
And we spoke briefly about the desperation or the situation that New Mexico are in and needing to get a result in this game. And that can go either direction for them. They can be very aggressive and offensive-minded. However, that leaves them open on the counter-attack for Pittsburgh to take advantage of them. And with a striker like Dequa who's challenging for the golden boot, it's a very dangerous situation to leave yourself in. So from their perspective, do you stay tight, compact, try and keep yourselves in the game as long as you can? Or do you go open up and be aggressive and expansive and try to get the opening goal? And maybe you need a 2 or 3 goal lead against a team like Pittsburgh, because one's not going to be enough over the course of 90 minutes. So it's really interesting to see how they're approaching this game.
It's risque from Rivas, and then the chance on the other side for Dequa.
It's interesting because I think all 3 times we've seen the goalkeepers make saves has come from headers, or chances that have been close have come from headers so far in this opening 12 minutes.
Kizza wins a free kick off of Will Seymour. Dos Santos will carry it back. If you can't watch the match, turn on SiriusXM FC 157. That's North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access Tuesday nights, 7 Eastern, Plus your live matches from USL, MLS, EPL, and more, all on SiriusXM FC 157 in the SXM app. Reaching toward the end line, that clipped into the stands. And another set piece in the early going here.
I think something that teams often talk about is winning your home games and making your home field a fortress. And Pittsburgh have definitely been able to do this here at Highmark. They've only lost one game here all season. And when you talk with the players say they don't talk about it. It's something that the opponents talk about and how difficult it is for them to come here and play and pick up a result. But being able to make your home field a fortress is really a staple of successful teams.
Corner for New Mexico, up and away. That smashed out 36 of the available 45 points picked up by Pittsburgh, 11-1-3 in the regular year. Huge ball forward for Dikwa. He got twisted around, and the ref's not going to give that.
And that's important, that having that success at home, because it plays into the players' mentality. They just play with an extra sense of confidence, a sense of superiority when they're playing at home. And that allows it to filter through into the fans, into the organization holistically, and just give them that 12th man. That is essentially what people talk about when they say having the 12th man at home. Pittsburgh have definitely been able to resurrect the 12th man and use it to their advantage in their home games.
And if they win out or they take care of Tampa Bay, really, that game in St. Pete carries a lot of weight. Rivas got to this, and his angle tightening, knocked down by Jamali Waite. You'd think Pittsburgh could own the whole postseason sprint right here at Highmark, including the final. They're ahead of both San Antonio, Sacramento out west, and then Tampa Bay here in the east for that #1 overall seed.
Of course, and once you get to knockout soccer, the knockout phases, of course things change a little bit. But when you have a record at home that's as solid as Pittsburgh's, it's a significant advantage to be able to play those bigger games or the finals in front of your home stadium rather than having to travel away or to a neutral arena.
Hamilton sets the play. Bypassing Rivera, Bailey.
This is what Pittsburgh do very well. When they're not in possession of the ball, they do a great job of getting all 11 players behind the ball. This makes it really difficult for New Mexico to break them down. If they're going to have success breaking them down, they've really got to move the ball from side to side quickly and hope that they can open up gaps in the Pittsburgh defense. But they're very, very disciplined and organized right now, Pittsburgh defensively, making it extremely challenging.
Is this 4 times now they've swung side to side and they haven't found a gap yet? And then they play that long ball. If there's something to that. Reyes, free kick and a card to Farrell.
That's actually a pretty good play from New Mexico. You know, they were patient, trying to find the opportunity to penetrate. They recognized they couldn't play through the Pittsburgh defense, so they opted to play over the top, and it was actually a pretty good pass. Reyes did great. That's not easy first touch control there. That's actually a beautiful first touch. Then he does well to suck in the defender here, Farrell, and draw a free kick for his team. So they've gone from being under pressure defensively to now having a goal-scoring opportunity in the attacking third.
Farrell's 5th yellow of the year.
I'm glad we got to get a second look at that Reyes touch, by the way. I'm sure that's one of the touches he's going to have in his highlight reel somewhere. Dragging the ball outside of his foot, arriving from 70 yards, and wins a free kick. I'm sure he liked that.
Texas native, when he was acquired on loan from Monterey, they said his talent is impossible to ignore.
And these are the moments that are going to be key for New Mexico.
Right into the wall by Portillo.
It's got to be better in those moments because they're finding difficulty breaking Pittsburgh down, trying to play through them. So one of the ways they can be successful is when they do have attacking set pieces like that in the attacking third. You have to be able to capitalize on it. Whether somebody has the ability to score directly or they have some creativity or ingenuity, they have to be key at being able to capitalize on set pieces.
Griffin out beyond Forbes. Allows Junior Etu onto the ball. Dos Santos, Forbes, wait. Hamilton got a piece.
One thing that seems to be interesting for both of these teams is that when the ball is deeper, they press the defense with 2 strikers. Then as the ball advances, they sit with just 1 striker. So you see when New Mexico are higher up the field, they press the defense with Reyes and Hurst. But as the ball advances, Reyes drops deeper and Hurst becomes like a single striker. So it's interesting because both teams are playing almost with a back 3, which means when they're playing up from the back, it's a 3v2, which is a little bit risky, but they still have a numerical advantage, so they should be able to play out.
Hamilton hit the switch. Zico Bailey goes to work.
This is where New Mexico just need to be a little bit more patient in that final third. As you spoke about, the discipline and organization from Pittsburgh. They're doing well to advance the ball to the final third, but they're just turning over the ball so frequently with that final pass. They just need to be a little bit more patient and see if this possession that they're having in around the mid-half and in their defensive third, if they can now have a periods of possession that they can stay in the attacking third and really build something meaningful.
Hernandez, that got slid away. Another corner for New Mexico United.
And we spoke briefly about being able to take advantage on set pieces. Portillo has been the player who's been responsible for deliveries on both sides of the pitch. This one looks like it's probably going to be an in-swinging corner in comparison to the earlier one that was an out-swinger. And you can see Pittsburgh have a blend of...
Portillo, that skims over the top and out.
Pittsburgh defending with a blend of zone and man-to-man. You can see there's some players, when they're defending, who are just responsible for defending areas, and you can see there's half the team that are responsible for marking players man-to-man. So they're defending with a mix of zonal and man-to-man marking when they're defending those corners.
Nyla, Niall, Ian, Lenny, Labriola, and Connor. Birthdays are brought to you by All About Fun, providing everything you need to create birthday memories of your own.
Good lip reader? I never was. Ryden. Dequa saying that hit off Ryden. Not to be. This is not the kind of night I'd want to be on a boat on the Monongahela. I know that. So not a great day for a baseball game out there either.
Beautiful night for a soccer game, though.
That's it.
If there's one sport this weather suits, it's most certainly a soccer night.
That two went sliding through. Whistle's gone. How's that look to you tonight?
I mean, at least they're inside.
That's it. Feels like a nice brown water kind of night indoors.
Tuned into ESPN Plus, watching this game on a boat.
Top priority. Ryden, Portillo. Well, New Mexico's grabbed a good amount of this ball, and if you think about the way the season's progressed for New Mexico, they've desired to possess the ball more. Pittsburgh's more than okay to hit on those long counters. You've got Kizza running down this left side. You've got the deep threat of the Golden Boot leader as Dequa comes back to the ball.
Yeah, I think the onus is definitely on New Mexico to push the tempo of the game. I think for Pittsburgh, with the confidence that they have at home, they're comfortable with the situation right now. They know the longer the game goes on, the more confidence they're going to build, the more chance they are to get that go-ahead goal, and then, you know, repeat what they've done time after time at this stadium. I think for New Mexico, at some point they want to break that deadlock. We know that you're up against Dequa, and at some point in the game, he's going to hit the back of the net, as he has done many times this season.
as he has done 3 straight home games now. That's a throw. USL is celebrating Hispanic Latino Heritage Month with stories, events, and more, bringing to life this special celebration across the league. Go to uslsoccer.com/Hispanic-heritage to learn more.
For more information or to place your deposit today, scan the QR code on the video board.
Given away by Seymour. Right into that gap that he left. Seymour is recovered admirably out in front of Etu. Thomas. King Kenny. Ooh. Forbes paid the price, but the Riverhounds have the ball. Does that make it feel any better? You get just nailed right in the gut, but you lose the ball versus actually winning the ball off it?
I mean, the hardest part is that you have to keep playing. Yeah. Whether you get nailed or not, you got to find a way to keep going until that ball goes out of play. So fair play to Canada Forbes there for staying on his feet and staying connected to play, despite probably losing his marbles.
Griffin pumps this too far. Bailey, 3 years in Cincinnati, started the year on a short-term deal in San Antonio, and that's gotten away from Thomas. So a New Mexico unforced error opens the door to a Riverhound set piece.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do, is concede unforced errors in the final third to this potent Pittsburgh attack. New Mexico had good possession of the ball, and now they've allowed Pittsburgh to have a corner from their possession.
Forbes, header down and in! Joey Farrell! What a dynamic, darting header to put Pittsburgh ahead!
And we have to rewind, Mike, to how this opportunity came about. New Mexico had good possession of the ball, some lax passing, a mistake leads to a corner kick for Pittsburgh, and they absolutely punish. There's been 2 or 3 deliveries that are coming in the air, and Farrell has been absolutely magnificent at attacking the ball. And here he does what he does best, near post area. He doesn't even need to put much power onto this delivery. He just guides it on frame, and the ball does the rest. Pittsburgh 1-0 in the league, at home, high mark. Is it going to be another one of those nights, Mike?
I haven't seen Farrell score that confidently since Rocket League. Look at this guy go. 27th minute, they'll call it. 2-0, rather second of the year, 1-0 Pittsburgh. And it feels like this venue just envelops you when that happens. The pitch feels smaller. Pittsburgh feels like they get wind behind their sails. It's raining. It's all of a sudden, if you're New Mexico, this feels like a complete mountain to climb as opposed to just the one goal it is when you face most teams.
Yeah, it is a mountain for them to climb now, unfortunately, and now the game plan has to change. Now they've got to be expansive. They've got to chase the game. They have to play with an urgency. They're 1-0 down at one of the hardest places to come away and take away points from in the USL Championship. Now their mettle is going to be tested as both a team and as individuals. They've now got to go and chase this game.
Pittsburgh has taken the lead on home ground 9 times this year with the opening goal. They have not conceded a single point from those 9 occasions. 9-0-0.
And look, Mike, every team wants to play out from the back. But at the business end of the season, the most important thing is winning. It's not about how you win, it's about winning and getting yourself into the playoffs. They played themselves into trouble. They're playing out from the back against Dikwa and against Kiza, who are pressing you very aggressively. You end up making your own mistakes. They don't win the ball. You made your own mistake and gave away a corner kick. And a good team do what they do. They punish you when you make mistakes in those areas. And Pittsburgh have done what they do best, punish teams for their mistakes.
Step further on that stat, New Mexico 0-5-2, only 2 points when conceding the opening goal away this year. And the Riverhounds are 18 games unbeaten when they score the opening goal. It's been a year and a week since that happened. It was a 2-1 loss against Birmingham last year.
One of the keys to the game for New Mexico was, can they get that first goal?
Yep.
And unfortunately, they've been unable to do it. But now it's just a test of character. Now that everything is stacked against you, the odds against you, everything is against you. Now you've got to find a way to win collectively. I'm sure the coach is going to be firing them up at halftime if he's not on the sideline now, already getting into them. They have to leave everything on the field. Every ounce of energy, they have to leave in the next 60 minutes of this game.
Seymour going at it here with Kizza. Actually got out for a goal kick. Here's the thing for New Mexico. Even if you lose tonight and maybe one of those teams on 40 ends up winning, yeah, we're getting really tight, but you're still only one game out of the playoffs, and this was probably the most difficult game remaining for them, you'd argue. They'll see Louisville at Phoenix, home against Memphis to conclude. So all playoff teams down the stretch, but a couple of them are at home. Moreover, you just played the top two teams, Sacramento and Pittsburgh, back-to-back, so you know what the level is now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can tell my frustration, Mike. I'm frustrated at the way the goal was given away because they had possession of the ball, and it doesn't matter who you're playing against. If you turn over opportunities like that to your opponents in your defensive third, you're not going to go too far. The game was pretty level pegged until that opportunity came about, and Pittsburgh obviously capitalized on it, but New Mexico gave that opportunity to them. It's not like Pittsburgh created that for themselves, and that's the frustrating part.
Rivas turned away, and so often you see 15 corners in a game and there's nothing from it. So sometimes you almost don't feel that's as big a problem as it is, but when it ends up being the goal that separates, it underscores that it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with.
Yeah, and the game is ruthless. You make a mistake like that, they don't score the corner, it's forgotten about. You make a mistake like that and they score the corner, it's never forgotten about. And that could end up being the turning point when you look back, whether they make the playoffs or not. Maybe that's the moment that made the big difference. So they've got to find a way to turn this game around now.
Slid back to the halfway line. Tipped outside, Atu from Forbes. Atu sends a very early ball. Dikwa knew that was out of his reach. Will it stay in a touch? It does. Divvied through, played across Dikwa. Thomas, the ball in from Ordonez is all the way up.
And you can feel how the goals had an impact on the game. The momentum, the confidence of Pittsburgh has gone up 10% now. Now they're playing with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more urgency, a little bit more creativity. The goals definitely had an impact on the flow of the game now.
In the end, this would have been offside, according to the official, but still Dikwa getting in the mix.
He's always in and around the danger areas where the ball is. He's always there. Sure, he would have wanted to hit that one with his laces rock.
Oh, threaded ahead. The right touch from that, and Kizza is gone. Atu.
Great vision to see that pass there from Ibarra, I think it was. Kizza was just unable to get it under control. Had his first up spin definitely there. I think he would have had a great opportunity to give Pittsburgh the second goal.
The aforementioned Ibarra runs out of real estate. Kizza nearly siphoned it off. He did. Kizza off target.
And again, Mike, we're seeing New Mexico create their own issues here in the way that they're playing out from the back. Whether the players are not positioning their bodies right, the weight of the pass is too heavy. They're giving the Pittsburgh the incentive to say, hey, come and press me even more, because they're making mistakes. They're allowing them to win the ball high up the field. And when they win it there, they can quickly convert that into goal-scoring opportunities.
Portillo. There are a mix of players that you know from rosters that have done this really effectively in the past, but the whole of the roster wasn't really built to possess the ball in that way. So I imagine you've gotten into the coaching game. To what extent do you look at your roster and say, I need to know what I have going into next year and whether or not they can play the way I want, versus recognizing this may not be the most foolproof way to get into the playoffs right now?
I think it depends on the conversations that the coach has had with the ownership. If the ownership has said, like, hey, this is a 4-year project, then maybe you have a few months or a year or so to implement your style of play. If the ownership have come in and said, hey, we want to win games, I don't care how you do it, get the games won, then you kind of have to look at the squad of players that you have and play the system and the formation that gets the best out of those players. And then maybe over time you can recruit players based upon the style and the system that you want to play. So I guess it's based, the managers criteria for what is going to be deemed a success that's given to him by the ownership. If it's a long-term project and they're not necessarily requiring immediate success, then maybe he has time to build his style of play.
Turned over, Kizza's after it. It was offside. So everyone's looking for a penalty, but the play, in theory, never even existed.
But again, Mike, their defending is not great. The ball's bouncing. It's now a 50-50 challenging for the ball. I think there's some cracks beginning to appear in this New Mexico defense when they're coming under pressure from Deco and Kizza. And if they continue to play how they're playing, I think it's only a matter of time before we see more goals.
Well, by the way, I'll assume the reason for the frustration from Bob here, you saw him yelling at the fourth initially before turning his attention back to the tactics. If you blow for the offside earlier, you don't have this collision that leaves two players on the ground.
Yeah, this is an ongoing conversation.
Right.
The full officials don't blow, then players utilize a lot of energy here to chase back that they could have conserved for later in the game. So if it's offside, why not let them know early and save their energy? And now you avoid a collision between these players where somebody could essentially get injured, and you're going to call the ball back anyway.
And I think Dequa's argument was, I stopped playing recognizing I was in an offside position and let Kizza go try and get the ball. How is it offside? That's one for Pro to contemplate, I guess.
I mean, they're always tweaking the rules, trying to find ways to make the game better. Some people say just complicating the game. Some people say they're trying to make the game better.
I feel like more and more I'm leaning toward it's the former than the latter, but it's well-intentioned. This is the kind of stuff they dream up in Zurich. Dos Santos at 2. Kizza pointed for it. He wanted it right there. Forbes sends the cross instead. Kizza was making a central run. Ultimately, they went through Canardo. Forbes that does win a corner kick.
And we were talking briefly, Mike, that when you mention Bob Lilly, Canardo Forbes is almost like the second name that you mention after you say Bob Lilly. Like the two of them have been working together forever.
I feel like there should be a 10-year anniversary ball for them. Quantum Spirits corner kick. The Riverhounds header in again! Oh! Arturo Ordóñez! Two perfect headers have the Riverhounds 2 goals ahead.
I think if this game had a headline right now, Mike, I think it would be set pieces matter. 2 set pieces for Pittsburgh, 2 goals. And before that, there were a couple of warning signs, but again, Forbes with a great delivery here. But just look how high Arturo gets up above everybody else. He's inches, there's nobody close to him, and he buries this into the back of the net. Again, just using the pace of the ball from Canardo Forbes. Beautiful delivery, doesn't need to do anything apart from glance it into the back of the net. Pittsburgh safe and secured in the driving seat right now. For New Mexico, it's going to be a long night.
Ordóñez in the 37th, Farrell in the 27th. And it's been a clinic from the Riverhounds and all the little things that have this entire fan base thinking this could be the year they finally get their hands on the real silverware.
I think the key to set pieces and winning headers, it's not essentially about, it is a little bit about how high you can jump, but it's all about the timing. If you look at Arturo's jump, there's nobody up in the air with him. He's jumped in the air so early that everybody else is looking up at him, and then the perfect delivery guides it into the back of the net.
Did you have hops like that? If he were next to the crossbar, I genuinely think he would have hit his head.
Perfect timing, perfect delivery. I'm sure that's not accidental. I'm sure, and this is something that they worked on in practice. And so far, it looks like they're being intentional with these deliveries. From both sides, Canardo Forbes is picking that near post area and whipping the ball in with perfection for his teammates to attack.
They've caught him napping, but Ibarra can't get up for it.
Napping is exactly the right word, Mike. That pass through was so easy there for him. Had the weight of the pass been a little bit lighter, Ibarra was about to get them the 3rd goal so easily. New Mexico really need to get themselves together defensively. I think they put themselves in a tight situation with the way they've defended set pieces and both open play. It's really going to be interesting to see how they come out and attack this game in the second half, because they're in a desperate situation right now, if they're still to make the playoffs. No, that's disgusting. half volley from one side of the field to the other, and his teammate almost got it under control. Pittsburgh are enjoying themselves a little bit too much right now.
You know, the funny thing is, I think we've started to see this Pittsburgh team as a bit of a bruising group. Ball ahead from Ibarra. Could be on here again for Pittsburgh. Rolled in front for Dequa. Hounds are starting to find some real joy tonight.
Commitment to win the ball here. Ibarra lifts nothing behind going for that challenge, completely dominates, and leads to a goal-scoring opportunity. Rivera, on the other hand, pulls out of the tackle, and him pulling out of that tackle costs his team that goal-scoring opportunity. He runs over to talk to the ref. I don't think he needs to talk to anybody else besides himself. If you're going in for a 50-50 tackle, go in and try to win it.
Chasing back Reyes.
Ball runs out of play. Correction, it was Bailey who actually went in for that tackle there, the 50-50 tackle, and should have gone in for the ball rather than pulling out. That led to a goal-scoring opportunity for Pittsburgh.
And then I misled you, Rivera playing the ball through.
I think that sometimes in those situations, when players pull out or they go in half-hearted, that's actually the moments when they lead themselves to get a bigger injury. When you go in 100%, and both players going 100%, normally the ball is the only thing that suffers getting caught in between the two. But when one player goes in maybe 30% and the other player's going in 100%, that's the moments when players get really bad injuries. You either have to go in 100% or you leave it alone like Bailey did. But in that situation where it's led to a goal-scoring opportunity for the opponents, of course he has to go in and challenge for that ball there. The minimum, you have to compete, and he lacked to compete in that moment, which led to a goal-scoring opportunity for Pittsburgh.
Hamilton. Mike's Beer Bar isn't only the home to the famous Steak on a Stone, but is also the official watch party location of your Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Meet me at Mike's. Steak on a Stone. It's on Chris tonight. Around the outside, ball laced in. Oh, nice catch upstairs.
Downtown, it's time.
Wow.
Quantum Spirits corner.
Leads to a corner. I'm stuck on the catch in the rafters.
What's the chances that Canado Forbes delivers this and gets a hat-trick of assists from corners? Three in a row.
Higher than you think, right? Forbes now 64 career assists.
And they have some big bodies attacking it. You're looking at the frame of Farrell, you're looking at the frame of Arturo. They have 6-foot players in there who are great at attacking these deliveries.
Forbes hangs it up off the crossbar. He did it again. Farrell rose to the occasion.
Oh my, I literally fell out my seat there. I thought he was going to get the hat trick of assists from corners. I was about to be a rich man, right? You were about to empty your bank account.
Griffin, end line. And a heavy touch out over the end line.
We have to see this score again here from Griffin. This game is enjoyable to watch right now. Let's see the corner kick first. Forbes again, beautiful delivery. It's Farrell again hitting the crossbar. They've been exceptional from set pieces so far in this game, Pittsburgh. But Griffin, some lovely skill here on the left-hand side right now. The final delivery wasn't that good, but he did so well to beat 2 and 3 players in the box. They've got a little bit of everything, this Pittsburgh team. They have your rugged players who are going to do the hard work and hold the ball up. You have your attacking players and flair players who can take 2 or 3 players on. And then so far, they've been solid in defense also. I wouldn't say they've really been tested tremendously so far in this game.
Rivas. Brought down by Astorga. Portillo with a deflection. Waite gave chase. It's out for a corner.
And look, Mike, we spoke so much about Dequa being for the Golden Boot 2 goals that have come in this game have come from defenders, from Arturo and Farrell. The centre-backs are the highest scoring players in this game so far. So we're waiting for the strikers to chip in, but everybody's pulling in when it comes to the goals, which is it's an absolutely invaluable trait you can have when you can get goals from defenders, you can get goals from midfielders, and your strikers chasing the golden boot. They can get goals from all angles.
Portillo, wait, got the first touch. It's still there for Hernandez. Unable to sneak by Rivera, but another corner to come.
And you can see New Mexico struggling for goals. I don't think Hurst has had 2 opportunities in this game to score. It's been very, very quiet on the attacking front for New Mexico. If they're going to get 3 goals in this game right now, I don't see where they're coming from.
Another set piece. That's up and wide from Ryden. Molly Wade trying to get to double-figure shutouts. He'd be only the 3rd Riverhounds keeper to do that in a single season. Of course, it helps that he's really been the guy this year. Some of the early years of the Lilly era, it was
The referee is
a little more by committee. 1 added minute at the end of the half.
1 minute. That's another 1 minute to make some noise!
The more I watch Pittsburgh, the more I question if anyone can actually come here and beat them.
Yeah, they're definitely, as we mentioned, they're a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, flick on by Hurst. Didn't play. He keeps it. Hamilton. New Mexico get one before the break. Astorga. There's Waite. By the way, the only reason Pittsburgh didn't go through in Cincinnati, it turns out, some people pointing to the offside goal that occurred earlier this year in that Open Cup game. I don't know if you saw the news this week that the goal scored by Alvaro Barreal got nominated for the Puskás FIFA World Goal of the Year.
Oh, yeah?
1 of 8. That was one of the 8 best goals all season. It's been that kind of year for Pittsburgh. If you're going to beat them, take something really special. The Riverhounds pull out a hammer and nails and do this the hard way. Farrell, Ordonez. Wow, what a half.
Yep, Farrell could have had himself with a brace, hit the crossbar over a second attempt, but they have to give Canado for some credit for those deliveries into the box. He's laid those balls on a platter for them, and they've done well in executing and finishing off. But Pittsburgh really starting to exude their dominance on this team as the game goes on.
Give that man half your goal bonus. It's well earned. Here in Pittsburgh tonight, the rain continues to pour. New Mexico is in some trouble. We'll take a look at the live standings in both conferences when we return. Halftime, Hounds head and shoulders above 2-0.
Cheer on the Riverhounds all season long at Mike's Beer Bar, Pittsburgh's home for local beer. With 21 TVs, over 300 local beers, and amazing food, Mike's is the place to be. Tell your friends to meet me at Mike's, Federal Street, right across from PNC Park.
Pittsburgh, stop breathing dirty air and contaminants trapped in your home's air ducts and dryer vents. Call Sears Air Duct and Carpet Cleaning or go to SearsClean.com. Our professionals will clean and disinfect your home's air ducts with powerful high-pressure vacuum equipment that cleans the air your family breathes. We love our pets, but their hair and dander get trapped in your air ducts and their odors in your carpets and on upholstery. Sears can clean it away. Call Sears Air Duct and Carpet Cleaning for a healthier home. Go to SearsClean.com.
When you drive a Honda, you're driving with the most fuel-efficient full-line automaker over the last 5 years. Follow your adventures in an exciting new Honda. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or visit your local Honda dealer today.
Welcome back to halftime. It's presented by Highmark. 2-0 Pittsburgh over New Mexico at the break. You know, the Riverhounds mascot named after the Allegheny and the Monongahela and the Ohio Rivers. It is too wet for him out here. Let's get you caught up on the East and the West and give you an idea of how the standings all lay out. These are live. So when you look at the Eastern Conference right now, Louisville has played 31, and the fact they're trailing against Loudoun is reflected. They're in the 60th minute there. Pittsburgh would officially clinch a home playoff game. The Rowdies have gotten underway. They've got a 1-0 lead over Memphis. So all of a sudden, if you're Pittsburgh, you're going neck and neck with the Rowdies. You still see them down the stretch on October the 7th on the road. That could be the 6-point game that decides whether or not you're hosting the whole East or not.
And I think if you're looking at this Pittsburgh team right now, they're in a hot streak of form, and the goals are coming from everywhere. You're looking at your strikers contending for the Golden Boot, but you look at tonight, and the centre-backs are chipping in with the goals. And Farrell probably could have had 2 at least. Yeah. So when you look at the holistic view of the team, I think Pittsburgh are in a very, very good seat right now.
All right, conversely, the Riverhounds trying to make it 5 unbeaten. Out west, things are a little murkier right now for the roadside New Mexico United. This would include a defeat here tonight. 31 games played. You beat 2 games in hand to El Paso, 2 points off them. You've also allowed 2 games in hand to Oakland and Colorado Springs. So yeah, 40 is the number you need at the moment. But in theory, you've got a lot of work to do with your last 3 games.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to sneak that last playoff spot, it's important to be in a good run of form and to be winning games when you're getting into that spot. I think if you're not performing very well, which is how New Mexico are looking tonight, they've not defended set pieces very well. It's going to be challenging them to really claim that final spot.
You could argue they have the toughest run-in of this entire league. Sacramento, Pittsburgh, Louisville, Phoenix, and Memphis, all teams in either exceedingly good form or sitting above that number 5 in either conference. Brutal for New Mexico. Look at all that water. There's a boat on it. Are the mascots just trying to stay dry out here? Pittsburgh a 2-0 lead. Take a look back at a first half, a flurry of headed chances by Pittsburgh. Halftime is presented by Highmark.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
I've just returned from the Museum of Play. The fairy tale forest, Berenstein Bear Treehouse, superhero universe, it must all be mine. Did you know they have a whole room full of pinball machines? Did you? And that video game arcade? So cool! Oh, I'll be back, Museum of Play.
With so much to do and see, everyone loves the strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
We welcome you back. I was told we'd see tall landmarks that have dominated the game tonight. I thought we'd be talking about Ordonez and Farrell. Alas, here's the youngsters on the field enjoying the moment in front of this big crowd alongside the Rivers in Pittsburgh. Hounds with a 2-0 lead. With Chris, Mike, let's get you caught up on news and notes around the USL Championship and beyond. Dequa and Trejo, do you have a favorite for the boot?
I think as this game continues, as long as Dequa stays on the field, I think it's only a matter of time before he gets himself on the score sheet. He's definitely going to be hungry in the second half, knowing that Trejo is so close, and two of them are going neck and neck.
Davian Kimbrough, just barely a teenager, has already been called in the Mexican under-16. Sacramento might have struck gold with him, made the bench for them for the first time a week ago. Meanwhile, 21 days remaining in the regular season. We'll see the final November 12th on ESPN2. Here's a look at the scoreboard. So Loudon gets a goal from Zach Ryan in the 20th minute. It is genuinely a tropical storm right now at Segra Field, so that's no good. The Battery have the lead. The Rowdies have the lead. The rich are getting richer.
Hey, that Loudon result up there is a little bit of a shocker. We expected Louisville City to start to enforce their dominance coming into the close of the season, but still 30 minutes left in that game. Let's see if they're able to turn it around. Tampa Bay Rowdies, of course, we know they're always a strong team in the postseason and starting to peak at the right time.
And Detroit better get this right against Hartford, or their playoff hopes might evaporate as well. Later on tonight on ESPN+, we've got a load of games. That El Paso game is critical for New Mexico. Indy is taking on RGV tomorrow. That's big in the Eastern Conference playoff race for Memphis and Louisville as they're sneaking up. Miami is still very much alive here.
Yeah, for me, the biggest game is San Antonio, Orange County. I like how Orange County have finished off this second half of the season. They've been able to climb up the table, pick up a lot of points. Although it looks like they may be losing their star player, Milan Eloski, at the end of the season, I think there's potential for Orange County to do something spectacular in the postseason.
All right, it's halftime here. Eric Quill taking issue from time to time, but it's been all about the headers from those two big center backs. Farrell and Ordonez have done the damage. We'll show you the highlights from the first half. Kick off the final 45 when we return.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
Allison and Michael have been in their home for 10 years, and their bathroom really needed an update.
I like doing home projects. Would have definitely taken me longer than we have.
They needed a more convenient option, so they called West Shore.
The design consultant made it really easy.
I left for work with the kids and they showed up. Morning.
Have a nice day at school.
By dinner time, we had our bathroom.
Wow, those are some big bucks. Biggest I've seen.
No doubt, no doubt.
Big bucks.
Big bucks, just waiting to be scratched.
Guess you could do that.
How else you gonna play the new big money millionaire from the PA lottery?
Now with bigger top prizes of $1 million.
Those are some big bucks.
You said it.
Keep on scratching.
The first thing I'm gonna do at the Museum of Play is scale the beanstalk. No, wait, the giant Etch-a-Sketch. Yes, maybe the video game arcade. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm riding the choo-choo. Whoop, whoop! Yeah, the Museum of Play really is the ultimate place to train.
Get it?
With so much to do and see, everyone loves the strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Welcome back. Take a look at Rob. Just trying to make sure we can see. How about we see Rob himself? He's working down on the field tonight. Got the big lens down by the goal. Taylor is working down next to Bob Lilly and Eric Quill, catching all the conversation for us. Go upstairs. You got Jeremy hard at work. And you've got Larry hanging out alongside the press box here. Thanks to everyone who's been out in the rain and allowing Chris and I to stay dry. Let's show you the first half highlights, of which there are many. Most of them belong to Pittsburgh. We're going to start in the 27th minute. It's really Forbes that tees this up.
Yeah, out-swinging deliveries there. It's absolutely beautiful. Delivers it over the first man near post, just leaves it there for the centre-back to attack. Farrell makes no mistake, guiding this one into the back of the net. 1-0 Pittsburgh.
37th minute, Forbes again.
Reversing it now with the in-swinging corner. This time it's Arturo leaping above everybody. Again, just glances into the back of the net. The work is done with the delivery. Just needs to connect with it, glide it on target. 2-0 Pittsburgh.
You know, you were calling it. You thought this was the trio of assists. Alas, Farrell off the woodwork.
Yeah, Farrell definitely wishes he had this on back. 1 inch lower, and he's got himself a brace before half from 2 corners. But they've been phenomenal in attacking set pieces so far in this game, Pittsburgh.
All right, here's a look at the halftime stats. New Mexico, it's not that they're without chance. It's that Pittsburgh got 4 point-blank chances at goal off set pieces.
Yeah, and sometimes possession can be misleading, right? We spoke about New Mexico having possession in defensive third, some possession in the midfield, but not really being able to sustain any possession in the attacking third. However, when Pittsburgh have been able to get possession of the ball, they've been very assertive, very aggressive, very direct in their play, and they've been able to create goal-scoring opportunities that they can capitalize on. I think the possessions maybe misleading. This game has definitely been Pittsburgh who have been directing and controlling the flow of this game.
And so the Riverhounds lead 2-0. There's Joey Farrell, part of a championship contender in Rochester, went out west to Phoenix. Bob Lilly bringing him back into this Pittsburgh side. And speaking with Bob Lilly at the very beginning of the season, Chris, one thing he expressed to me, finishing 5th and expecting to get hot is not a recipe for winning a title in this league. We've seen it, but it's infrequent. More often than not, it's the team that's most well-rotated, that's able to finish highest in the standings, get home games. That's the recipe that Pittsburgh wants. You're looking with 3 games left. They hadn't started the same lineup back-to-back since March, so the rotation has been there. They're first in the league with a chance to essentially own that #1 spot if they take care of Tampa Bay on the road. It feels like Bob Lilly's gotten this recipe just right.
And I think the main note that you're hitting on there, Mike, is mentality. Obviously, I have a European background, and finishing first in the regular season is what's always the most important. And Bob Lilly's basically saying, I'm not content finishing 5th in the regular season, being the 5th best team over the course of 9 months, and then just winning the playoffs for a couple of weeks at the end. He wants to be the #1 team over the long season of 9 months, and then he wants to put the cherry on top by winning the playoffs at the end. And I think that is the best mentality you can have as a head coach, and the best leadership that you can put onto your players, to have them have that mentality where excellence is required every day, and you want to be the best team over 9 months, and then in the postseason you want to be the best team over that 3 or 4 week postseason. I think Bob Lilly is setting an excellent standard there by having that demand on his players and his team.
You saw Armando Moreno has come in. We'll try and provide service to that man, Greg Hurst. Moreno replacing Hamilton at the break. And we get the view from Jeremy up top. Underway in the second half. Pittsburgh 2, New Mexico 0 with 45 minutes to play. Pittsburgh can clinch a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference regardless of the other results tonight. If they manage to at least get a point out of this evening, New Mexico would still sit at minimum 3 points out of the playoff field with 3 games remaining, and that's an aggressive slide back from Hurst that sees him booked by Elvis Osmanovic.
Yeah, and I think we may have already seen a formation switch for New Mexico. With Hurst, looks like he's going to be operating out on the left, and it looks like they're playing with 3 forwards for this second half because they need to go and get goals. They need to chase the game. There's no use losing this game by 2 goals or losing by 5. They need to go and score 3 goals and try and get themselves into a winning position. So I think they're definitely looking to be a lot more expansive and attacking minded in this second half.
Bypassing Moreno. This comes back to Ordonez, his 4th goal of the season. 5th of his Hounds career. Kizza has Dequa making a central run. Forbes has joined in. Rivera, Griffin. Griffin's 4 years into his career, and he has not missed a single game in that span. Not one.
I think when you look at the top players, and you're really looking at the top players, being able to play every week, longevity is a key to being recognized as a top player. You know, sometimes we have really good players and they play 2 or 3 seasons. I think when you're able to be at the top of your game and sustain that for a decade and beyond, I think this is when you really look at players who can leave a legacy when they finish playing the game.
What's the old cliche? The best ability is availability.
I mean, we're still seeing Ronaldo and Messi, 2 of the greatest players in the game, at 36 and 38 years old, still competing and scoring goals. I think that is a testament in itself. Being able to compete at that age for so long and still be at the top of the game is incredible.
Did you just find a way to put Danny Griffin in the same paragraph as Messi and Ronaldo? Because if so, I love it.
I was going to do it earlier, but then I hesitated and I was like, but we're talking about longevity, you know, being able to sustain and play every game. I think, you know, that is injuries is part of the game, especially when you're playing with so much intensity every match, and being able to keep yourself injury-free. I think that's also a skill in itself. You have to give yourself a lot of attention in your preparation and how you recover from games. It takes a lot of dedication and sacrifice to be able to do that.
Yeah, there's so many games now, especially in the European season when you play in Champions League and you add in your domestic cups, and you've got your money grab overseas that you do every July, and you add it up and you're talking 70 games, 65 games. Bailey got sandwiched and rolled up field, free kick New Mexico.
And of course, if you're a good team, you want those problems, because the bad teams, they'll get into these tournaments, they'll get knocked out quickly. If you're a good team, you're going to be in many tournaments, you're going to win, then you're going to get put into another tournament like CONCACAF Champions League. So these are good problems to have, which means your roster has to be bigger and deeper. It's not such a big problem for maybe the teams that aren't as good. It's a good problem to have.
This year, Hounds 4 or 5 games in the Open Cup, then you add the 34 in the regular season, you make a run to the final. Ball driven across, that skips out, and after much consideration, it's a corner. So you're talking about potentially close to 45 games this year for Pittsburgh. Ball goes well.
And the top players find a way to play in maybe 40 of those 45 games, which is incredible, right? To be able to do that week after week after week, it's not easy.
Corner New Mexico to try and get back in it. They were looking for Rivas.
I think the advantage that Pittsburgh maybe have now is that they don't have any more midweek games from now to the end of the season. So they're able to get a little bit of continuity and consistency in their preparation, which obviously puts them in a great position for the playoffs.
I just spoke to another coach earlier this week that said the time for rotation for its sake is over. Hurst, tight angle, ripped it off the bar and back out the other way.
It was always going to be a difficult angle there for Hurst to score from. He does well here to let this ball run across his body. Great steal there. The through pass, the run, the timing. But the longer it runs, the angle gets tighter. It's really going to have to be something special to beat Waite from that distance in that little tight space. But it's good they're creating opportunities now. I think that's maybe the first opportunity that we've had that wasn't from a header or an aerial ball. So they've started this second half with a little bit more urgency, a little bit more assertiveness in their approach.
Moreno got just enough to keep this moving, but it is with Pittsburgh briefly. Hurst able to knock it back, and here goes Moreno. He's fresh to start the half. Played that all the way through. Waite the save, and cleared away before Waite was called upon again. And Rivas paid the price for that, grabbing at his lower right leg. And they'll stop play over New Mexico's objections because he's still down top the 6-yard box.
I think his ego may be hurt just as much as his ankle in this situation. Moreno, if he's able to bring this to the table, you question why he didn't start this game. That's a great delivery. Rivas is in a great area. He really should be putting that back into the back of the net and giving his team a chance in this game. Keeper does ever so well wait here to stay big until the last minute. But Rivas really should have converted the opportunity there.
You look at the bench tonight for New Mexico, and it sort of felt like there's a belief that if you could keep this close going into the half, you could bring the speed and sort of outgoing nature of Borgelin to try and stretch the game. You could bring on Moreno to try and pull it apart in midfield, and all of a sudden you're right where you want to be.
Yeah. I think the problem was they didn't defend set pieces well enough. Because if you look where the goals came from, they came from set pieces. If you take away the set pieces, the game was fairly matched, but those two lapses in concentration on the set pieces now put him in a tough spot. And now you bringing in Moreno, he's already shown he has the impact to change the game offensively, creating chances. And, you know, I think Borgelin as a player can really have an impact in this game. His ability to stretch defenses, his ability in aerial battles, and just being a handful in general to occupy two of the three centre-backs. I think he's a player who can have an impact on this game. So hopefully we're able to see him enter the game sooner rather than later, because I think he's a player, if they're able to get a goal before 65 minutes, there's still potential for them to go in and get something out of this match.
Rivero will throw after the shoes are tied. We can tell you don't want to miss a minute of the action down the stretch in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship action on ESPN+. It's the home for USL Championship, USL League One, La Liga, Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today, plus.espn.com. That's Ryden, who's been riding a yellow card since about the second minute.
Yeah, has to be careful. He's the captain, the leader of this team. The last thing you want to see is him heading down the tunnel early. Just has to be smart in how he tackles and how he approaches those dual situations. I think the next goal, Mike, is massive. I think if Pittsburgh get the next goal and it's 3-0, game, set, and match. I think that's the nail in the coffin. I think if New Mexico get the next goal, we're set up for a very exciting finish to this game.
Lest we forget, yes, Pittsburgh won their last game against Miami on the road, but did concede an equalizer in the 88th. Here's Pittsburgh winning the ball high up the field, turning, firing, deflecting from Forbes. Giant switch into Hurst, who was offside.
You can see Pittsburgh still trying to play at a high tempo. The foul gets called and they want to put it down and play quickly and catch New Mexico unorganized, which they've done here.
Forbes kept it moving. This is brilliant. Lining up Astorga, who did get a touch to deny Etu. Astorga trained with the first team basically all year. Signed his first pro deal a week ago, earlier this month, beg your pardon. Got his first appearance a week ago, went 90 minutes.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing, I wouldn't say a trend, but we're definitely seeing an increase in younger players who are ready and able to impact the USL Championship at this level. I say that because I think about Nate Worth, and I watch him play. He plays with so much maturity as a young player, but I know we say young, but he's good enough. He's old enough. So his age, although it's good to talk about young players too, he's a young player who's ready to impact the level of the USL Championship. I think we're starting to see that become more consistent from team to team. And I don't want to say it's a trend. I want to say maybe it's just a change in culture.
Well, it's needed too, right?
What, Tequila Corralejo or the young players?
The young players.
The
players that cannot have the Tequila Corralejo.
That was my Spanish there,
You got it right.
Corralejo.
Yeah, no, you got it right. You know, I was at the summer showcase and we were doing blue drinks. And I'm not quite sure what the connection with the blue was, but I do know that the drink was made with Tequila Corralejo. Having a good time with that. Not too good a time.
So wait, you was drinking Tequila Corralejo, but you can't remember the drink. How many did you have?
The problem was you couldn't really taste the tequila, but you could taste the blue. And you might be thinking, what does blue taste like? And that's half the problem. I don't know.
Sounds like another good, ooh.
Yeah.
Collision of heads there.
Yellow card's gone to Arturo Astorga. You never forget your first. That's the first of his pro career. Defender from El Paso.
New Mexico United yellow card by number 15, Arturo Astorga.
So look at the injured player here.
The Tampa-Memphis game that we briefly touched on at halftime.
A little drunk?
Now tied up 2-2.
You know, if you think about how this top four lays out right now for Pittsburgh, they're in great position. For New Mexico, it's a little bit difficult. Those are the records on the left. Head-to-head is your first tiebreaker, and then goal difference follows. New Mexico sitting right behind that three-team swath at 40 points.
Louisville have scored to level things up against Loudoun. Charleston comfortably in the lead against Tulsa's 2-0 approaching halftime.
Dylan Maris in the 74th for Louisville in the Tropical Storm Ophelia experiment. Danny Cruz has to be thinking, oh, get me home, after the defeat to Miami on the road. What could have been a 9-point week could potentially be a 4-point week, and that might be why they failed to catch Charleston for the 3. It might be why they failed to get a home game. Dequa Thomas. You know, for all the work Dequa does inside the 18, when he unleashes from there, catches you a bit off guard.
Yeah, this all starts with the dead ball specialist Forbes in the center of the park here. Some nice footwork, keeps possession. Then the through pass there, and Dequa looks around. He doesn't see anybody pass through, and he just thinks, I'm going to try my luck. Not a bad effort, but don't think he was testing Thomas from that distance, really.
Kizza. Etu. Holding up Reyes. And that's a free kick in front of the bouncy castle. It'll feel a lot like a corner.
Yeah. Yes, he's taking it.
Yeah.
Etu just uses his body well here. He's smart. He knows he's in an area where he can't really create anything. So he just puts himself in between him and the ball, knowing that Reyes is probably going to make the foul. Take the contact from Astorga and goes down and wins his team a free kick in the corner flag area.
It's literally right on the edge of the arc. Forbes knows what he wants. He has been at a different level tonight with his service. He is about 5 inches off of a 4-pack of assists. A ball off the bar and one wide from Farrell, but Farrell and Ordonez have each cashed in on a goal. We talked about it earlier. Next goal could be definitive for Pittsburgh. And when you put it past King Kenny, get his trio of assists. Puts that in play. Dequa saved off the line. Nearly his 18th. Stabbed down by Ordonez and cleared away.
This is insane. I don't think I've ever seen a game where the deliveries from corner kicks have been so consistent. Almost every time Canado Forbes has delivered a corner kick in today's game, it should have or could have been a goal. I think this one is cleared off the line.
Wow.
I thought he was going for the Olympico here, where it's a dime onto Dequa's head. He hits it in the one place. He heads it into the one place where Bailey's on the line to clear it away. Anywhere else, and that's in the back of the net. Dequa will be kicking himself there. He could have got the goal to put him ahead in the golden boot race. He wants it. He's claiming he's put his hand up to say it crossed the line, but referee is not in agreement. But again, Canado Forbes' set-piece deliveries have been absolutely phenomenal.
Forbes 9 assists now on the year. And his chance creation hasn't dropped at all. He's aged like a fine wine. Dished out by Dequa. Rivera sends early. Thumbs up from Dequa.
This game could be 4-0 maybe should be, on corner kick opportunities alone for Pittsburgh. The deliveries and the opportunities that have been created from Conrado Forbes have been clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities. 2 converted, one's hit the crossbar, and one's been cleared off the line. This is a strength for Pittsburgh that any team scouting them has to pay a lot of attention to defending set pieces and defending corner kicks, because they can hurt you and they will punish you from corner kicks.
In your mind, is this more Pittsburgh being exceptional tonight and Forbes in particular, or New Mexico not being good enough?
I think Forbes' deliveries have been exceptional. The pace on the ball, the direction of the ball, the accuracy of the delivery. And then if you look at, sometimes it's that good that you can't store it. If you look at the goal from Arturo, he's up so high in the air before everybody else. It's difficult to stop, but the delivery's been so consistent, and if they practice that, the rhythm, the timing, everything makes it ever so much more successful. We spoke about Borgelin coming into this game and the impact it can have. I think we're now going to see it.
So Hurst comes off. Hurst and Borgelin just shy of 2,000 minutes combined this year. Hurst has 2 goals, Borgelin has none. And therein lies the big thrust of the problem for New Mexico. They've gotten goals from a lot of places, but the place you need them most is your 9.
Yeah, and Borgelin, he's proved that he can score goals. He scored goals with the first team for Inter Miami. He scored goals in MLS Next Pro. He hasn't hit the ground running yet. Time is running out for this New Mexico team, so they know that they've got to give it everything they've got in the remainder of this game, and he's got 28 minutes now to really come on and stamp his authority on this game, have a positive impact for his team, whether that be making runs in behind, holding up the ball, giving assists to his teammates. He needs to bring that energy and that passion and that hunger to score goals and get himself on the score sheet.
Ball lashed across, that's denied. Borgelin, by the way, 4th leading scorer in MLS Next Pro last year, scored 14. Ibarra. And that'll get out and give us a chance to tell you, if you want to watch the action from on the field here at Highmark Stadium, if so, make sure to call 412-865-GOAL and reserve the IC Light Corner Kick Suite today. That corner kick suite is actually where you see all the goals, it turns out, here at Highmark.
I think they're going to rename that the Conrado Forbes Suite.
Yeah. You know, you and I were watching, they were hanging flags up over the suite level ledge, and ultimately covered up a few of the names inadvertently of the Hall of Famers here for the Riverhounds. This is Moreno. Moreno turned away, sprints out, and ran out of room. But yeah, I would think they're going to name something here after Conrado Forbes for all he's done for the franchise.
I think it's going to be renamed the Conrado Forbes Corner Kick.
This is a lot of traffic for Pittsburgh to whittle out of. That'll do. Dequa crashes in. Rivas up by Rivera. Good toss by Moreno. Borgelin, Moreno, able to keep that in. Borgelin, denied. Still on it after the block. He ultimately blocked Hernandez on the follow-up. Hernandez at 2, got a piece.
It's a great opportunity there for New Mexico. And I'm just watching if Borgelin could have just readjusted himself when that ball was coming across so he could have finished with his first touch. I think taking 2 touches took the opportunity away from him and give the defender a chance to close down. I think had he been able to adjust his run slightly, and he's coming onto that with his first touch, I think he's on the score sheet, and then it's game on for the remainder of the 25 minutes left.
Speaking of the score sheet, major goal in the East playoff race, just scored seconds ago on ESPN+. Wilson Harris in stoppage time. Louisville 2, Loudoun 1. So Loudoun lead that game for 54 minutes, are now on the cusp of coming away with nothing. Detroit has now scored twice. Dario Suarez in the 24th and Michael Bryant in the 31st, pushing the envelope at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. And then there's that inebriated Rowdies Memphis game that's 2-2.
And Borgelin coming into this game has definitely created a different dynamic in the attacking third for New Mexico. You can see his ability to hold up balls, laying them off to teammates, making runs up to him. He's definitely bringing a fresh energy to the attack, and allowing them to maybe play in a different way. I think when Hurst was up there, they weren't necessarily as direct in their approach. I think with Borgelin, they can be a little bit more direct because he has a bigger frame and able to hold up the ball well, having such a strong frame.
Etu gets chopped down. That's a goal kick.
Tenemos una fiesta especial con música de Gabaspi. Después del partido, cerca del pub, vamos a bailar abajo de las estrellas. Fans, we have a very special fiesta on the field after the game near the pub.
Ooh.
Stick around to dance around to the beat of Gabaspi as they serenade us under the stars.
All right, I'm sold. I know what Chris and I are doing tonight.
Sure, the fans will be able to enjoy that event a little bit more if Pittsburgh are able to hold on to this result.
Sure enough.
However, I don't think New Mexico are going to allow it to be so easy for the remaining 20+ minutes of this game.
Forbes tried to stick a foot in. New Mexico gotten 7 results away from home, but 3, 8, and 4 on the season. They've been really solid at the lab. Also haven't exactly gotten the luck of the draw with some of the road games they've had. Notably, the West has dominated the East over the course of this season, but the West teams really struggled coming to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh could finish 5-0-1 at home against Western Conference teams, with the only draw being the 0-0 against Sacramento. So maybe this is the kryptonite. Yearwood, who came on along with Borgelin about 10 minutes ago. Battery and Tulsa playing. Battery trying to chase that top seed. 2 goals ahead. Fidel Barajas, a pair of goals in the first half there.
New Mexico still staying consistent to their principles and building play despite bringing on Borgelin. And you just wonder as the game ticked along if they're going to become a little bit more direct, try to get the ball into the final third and sustain the pressure. But they're still staying true to their values of building through the thirds, building out from the back. But I think as the clock ticks, the desperation gets a little bit more, and that need to get minimum point, like ideally 3. I think they've got to start going more direct to Borgelin and start to really put the pressure on his back line.
Nate Dos Santos. Griffin battling away for it. He's won a free kick. And off to the bench here. It's a whole group of subs coming on at once. So Kiza off, placed by Juan Carlos Obregon. Robbie Mertz will replace Canardo Forbes. Genuinely, this dude could have 5 assists tonight. He really could have. And they'll bring Luke Biasi on as well.
Yeah, I think Forbes deserves a standing ovation for his deliveries into the box tonight. He's put the ball on a platter for his teammates to finish off.
When you've been together for 10 years, it's a simple handshake. Most people come off after a performance like that and they...
Well, it's probably what Lily has got accustomed. That's the normal. That's the standard that's expected. There's nothing spectacular. That's the normal. That's the benchmarking. That's what I expect you to do.
You know, I can't help but think Mertz getting the armband, the Pittsburgh native. You're talking about a guy who, in recent years, never came off the bench when he's been Pittsburgh. There in 2020, gone in 21, back in 2022. They're going to make a change here for New Mexico. Danny Bruce off the bench replaces Nicky Hernandez. If this is the 11 that Pittsburgh deems the best fit, and it rolls this way through the end of the season, being able to bring Mertz off the bench and give him the captain's armband, it almost feels like he's leading that unit into the final 20 minutes. And that's a role that he accepts and can excel in.
Yeah, and I think, again, this boils down to the leadership of Bob Lilly, that you can have a player like Mertz on the bench. He comes into the game, he gets the captain's armband, and look at his mentality and approach to the game. The last game against Miami FC, he's the player who's wearing the armband. He gets the winning goal in the 89th minute. It's having players that are bought into the team approach, and even if they don't start games, they come into the game, they're able to have an impact, they're giving it their best. And I think that starts from the leadership, being able to get everybody bought in and paying as much attention to those players who aren't starting the game as the ones who are starting the game, because at some point in the season or in the playoffs, you're going to need those ones.
Stridently forward, ball blasted Mertz. He nearly scored in back-to-back games off the bench. And that's that killer instinct from Mertz.
I bet he'd love to have the opportunity back. I don't think he did the wrong thing hitting it first time. I think he actually had the time there to take the first touch, open his hips, and bend it into the far corner. Defender did well to block the shot, but there's the impact he's had. 2 minutes on the pitch, and he's already had an opportunity to give them the 3-0 lead.
Rivas, Borgelin came in earlier this year from Inter Miami. Seeing a little bit of time at the start of the season with Inter Miami, and then this Argentinian World Cup winner shows up, and all of a sudden there's not a lot of room for him, and New Mexico became the best place for him to continue to get top-tier minutes.
Yeah, I think the good thing for Borgelin is that he's still 21 years old, which starting to seem old, but he's actually still young in the game, and he's in his 4th professional year. So I think he's doing the right things. I think it's only a matter of time. Sometimes strikers need to get that first goal, and then they just hit a run of form, and they just start scoring. I think once he's able to break the duck and get himself on the score sheet, the floodgates will open, and then we'll start to see the goal scoring potential he has.
Season ticket plan, a $500 Mike's gift card, a team signed jersey, and more during Fan Appreciation Night, sponsored by Mike's Beer
I think he
Bar.
gets a medal if they win the Open Cup. Didn't play in the final, but did score in the early rounds. They play Houston on Wednesday night down in Fort Lauderdale.
He contributed. The young players, a lot of young players, even at that level, are getting minutes and having significant contributions to the success of the team. It's one thing being a young player and you're just getting 10 or 20 minutes to get your feet wet. It's another thing when you're a young player and you're able to create goal-scoring opportunities and go in there and actually have a positive impact on the team. And I think that's what we're seeing more of. Not just young players getting minutes for the sake of getting their feet wet. They're getting minutes because they're good enough and they're going actually having a positive impact on the game.
Goes back to really good coaching. Came off the head of Ibarra. Ibarra's got it again. Dequa gives chase. That's a 5-story can of corn. Mertz puts it down. Portillo. Foot race. Farrell. Farrell, part of those high-powered Phoenix Rising teams. Went like a runaway freight train through the Western Conference year after year.
And of course, as the minutes tick, Phoenix obviously will play. It's a strong tackle.
Bruce. Yeah, they're going to stop play. That's going to come with a card.
I think he can count himself lucky there that the referee's only giving him a yellow card, because you can see there he comes with 2 feet and both studs seem to be showing. We'll get to see the replay here.
Oh, wow.
Dos Santos, that's not a good tackle at all. And you're in a leading position. There's no need. You're winning the game 2-0 fairly comfortable. The last thing you need is to be going in a tackle like that on Rivas with both studs up. I think if the referee was to see that again, he'd definitely pull out a red card. He's lucky that maybe he didn't get the best view in the run of play and he's only issued a yellow, but it's definitely a reckless tackle there from Dos Santos.
Nate's got 7 of those this year. Yellow cards, that is. And Rivas really caught the worst of that.
Hounds fans, we'd like to thank Piata Italian Street Food for helping fuel the team. Piata Italian Street Food is an
I mean, ultimately, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you're thinking that could be a red card. If you're a New Mexico fan, you're thinking that could be a broken leg.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're looking at it from a Pittsburgh standpoint, decision making. You know, you don't want your defenders making decisions like that at this phase of the game when you're fully in control. You want players making smarter decisions. Hey, we don't need to dive in like that. We're in control of the game. Last thing we need is a red card. I think that's a little bit of lack of emotional control there from Dos Santos, that he didn't recognize that in that moment, and just be a little bit patient and approach. Flyers in here. That's really dangerous. I think we're fortunate to see Rivas getting back up on his feet and walking.
Header back through the 18 and out. By the way, Bob Lilly said really disappointed by the way they conceded against Miami, the 88th. Yeah, they came away with a win, but he wasn't satisfied with that. You expect up a man, final 5-10 minutes that you'll see the game out.
Yeah, and again, the word is mentality, Mike. I remember playing in games and we'd win the game be winning the game by 4 and concede a goal, 1 goal in the last moments of the game. And the coach would come in and get into us like we'd lost the game, because in his mentality, keeping a clean sheet was just as important as scoring 4 goals in the back of the net. And conceding a goal, he saw it more as a habit that could creep in and be more detrimental later on in the games when the games are tighter. Having that mentality of seeing the game out 95 minutes and not conceding a goal and not getting lax and complacent in the final minutes and conceding a goal despite being up by 2 or 3. So Bob Lilly's really trying to instill the highest level of mentality into his players, where they're ruthless. They finish all their chances and they don't allow their opponents to score any chances against them. I think everything he's doing is correct in terms of putting the correct mentality into his players and culture and values for the team.
That was really good from Dos Santos. He went over to Rivas and tried to shake his hand on the way off. I'm sure Rivas, while he did shake that hand, he's got to be frustrated. Who could blame him? But Rivas is coming off. They're making a change here.
And I think it's indicative of the way the game has changed over the years. Now, if a tackle has too much force, it can be brought back for a free kick for excessive force. When I was playing, honestly, I probably did many tackles like that. And it was maybe yellow card, or maybe the ref just wrote play on. The game's changed now where tackling like that has kind of been eradicated. And there's a lot more care in how you can approach it when you're going in towards players in those situations.
Farrell coming out. Here's a look at the opening goal tonight in the 27th minute.
Great header here. Probably should have had a brace, had a similar opportunity where it hits the crossbar, but leadership from the back, keeping clean sheets at one end and scoring goals at the other.
And Patrick Hogan will come in to try and see it out. Santi Moar comes in for New Mexico, replacing Rivas. And you really hope there's nothing lingering from that earlier challenge by Dos Santos. The Louisville game went final. Louisville wins and maintain hold of the 4 spot. Memphis and Tampa Bay have kicked off their second half. See it on ESPN Plus when we're done here. That's 2-2. Take a look at the collision there.
When we're done being the key word, because this game isn't over yet. I still feel that like there's more goals to come in the remaining 10 minutes of this game.
Well, could it be a set piece? Regrettably for all of us, Canardo Forbes is done for the night already.
I think New Mexico will be breathing a sigh of relief.
That was one of the most dominant dead ball striking performances I've ever seen in this league.
It was literally like he can't do it again, and he did it again. Then the 4th time is like, no, he can't do it again, and he did it again.
We genuinely saw something really special tonight. Mertz. Oh, they've all got it figured out. That's wide by Dequa. The whistle had already gone. I don't know what it is, but this select ball is flying just right.
Dequa, that's his second opportunity. He had a great opportunity off a Forbes corner kick earlier, and there's another opportunity there to get himself ahead in that golden boot race. Hard to tell from this angle, but maybe a little bit enthusiastic in his movement forward, and was offside before the ball was delivered.
Upfield from Ordonez, brought down by Bailey. Borgelin pushes outside Bruce. Portillo, he's a danger from here. Finds Yearwood. Is he pointing for a handball?
Oh, I told you not to turn over yet. There's going to be more action in this game.
It's a penalty for New Mexico in the 82nd minute.
If they're able to convert this will tee up a very exciting closing 10 minutes.
Wow, it came out of nothing.
And the referee gives certainty to the decision.
Yeah.
I think he's right.
That's a lot closer to the angle that you'll see the referee have, because he's basically standing equivalent to the penalty spot and about 5 yards back there.
Yearwood whips that ball with his left foot, and Biasi's hand is outstretched in an unnatural position. The referee rightfully awards a penalty kick.
Just how much chaos is there going to be down the stretch here tonight? Portillo is the great dead ball specialist for New Mexico. Jamali Waite, the 24-year-old goalkeeper, awaits. Portillo scores. New Mexico is alive tonight. Game on here in Pittsburgh.
43, Justin Portillo.
This is an outstanding penalty kick from Portillo here, but let's see the handball again. You see there, Biasi's hand is outstretched in an unnatural position, but Portillo, what a finish. Into the side net in top corner, gives Waite no chance.
And here comes New Mexico. Portillo now in his career, 20 of 21 on penalties.
Penalty kick assassin.
Wow.
This tees up a very exciting remaining 10 minutes. Goals change games, and momentum now could switch in favor of New Mexico. They're only one goal away from walking out of here with 1 point, so they're going to throw everything on the line in this remaining 10 minutes. It's really going to test the defense of Pittsburgh to see if they can hold strong.
Pittsburgh has won all 9 games in which they had the opening goal at home this year. 18 unbeaten in that scenario. It's been over 12 months. And New Mexico trying to snap that streak.
They need to play to the strengths of Borgelin in here. He's electric in behind. If they're able to get this Pittsburgh defense to the halfway line and then somehow be able to find Borgelin making runs in behind, there's still chances for New Mexico to tie this game up.
By the way, 4th goal for Portillo this year in the championship. 3 from pens. 3 for 3 on the campaign. The only time he ever missed was actually against Red Bull 2 and Giannis Nikopolidis, goalkeeper for that. If that sounds kind of weird, that's probably the point.
They need to get Borgelin matched up on the last defender. The good thing about Borgelin is that he's such a handful. At times, he can attract 2 defenders, which is going to leave his teammates in space. It's going to leave space for the likes of Bailey joining the attack, or for Astorga on the opposite side joining the attack. So I think the more they can try to play to the strengths of their strikers here, gives them a chance to really get that equalizing goal.
Ball pitchforked ahead, sent out wide. Etu trying to get by Mowar, did not. Seymour
able to connect with anybody with a second pass.
Fans, we love you, and thank you for attending tonight's game.
Real quick, let's tell you Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit SelectSportAmerica.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. That's Select, the player's choice. With Chris Nurse, Mike Watts, 5 minutes to go. New Mexico in 10th. A point doesn't get them above the line, but it may end up being a major catalyst for them going into their final 3 games, all against playoff teams. And if there's any good news, 2 of them are at the Lab, where they've got an exceedingly strong record. Pittsburgh this year, 11-1-3 on home ground, trying to expand their advantage in the Eastern Conference. Tampa Bay in position to potentially drop points tonight. And if they do, Pittsburgh, despite the Rowdies' game in hand, could really own the tail end of the season here at Highmark. Bruce. Hounds get it to the halfway line. The hold-up from Dikwa chipped away, and there's Moar. 82nd minute penalty for New Mexico. Jose Frio, as New Mexico United's Twitter account is so coolly and calmly intimated. Justin Portillo, after a pair of headers from Farrell and Ordonez. You could argue Pittsburgh could have had 4 or 5 goals off set pieces alone tonight. They've only got 2, and we're still hanging in the balance.
Yeah, and I think if New Mexico are able to go on ahead and get this equalizing goal, they should view that as a win. This is one of the hardest places to come and pick up points, and they're within in touching space of getting that equalizing goal. The introduction of the likes of Moore, Moreno, Borgelin has definitely had a positive impact. I think they just need one moment of quality or a moment of brilliance from one of their creative players to potentially have that opportunity to tie this game.
Bruce, hampered from behind by Obregon. Still, he kept it going forward. He has won a free kick. New Mexico in the final 5 minutes with a chance here from about 25 yards out.
Referee doesn't want to hear no more chit chat. Bruce here tries to wind up to take the shot.
Etu's saying it wasn't me. I'm innocent here.
I think Etu does get some of the ball, but he also clips Bruce's leg as he gets it. I think there's a bit of both. I think in that situation, the referee's right to give favor to the attacking team. It's Portillo who looks like he's on the ball.
After all we saw from Forbes tonight, could Portillo possibly say anything you can do, I can do better?
He has Borgelin as a target. Head and shoulders above anybody else on the field for height, if the delivery's right.
Could 43 be looking for 49? Portillo was looking to be the hero. You know that feeling. Gotta wonder what the thought process is from the Pittsburgh bench. They've done all the hard work tonight, trying to avoid conceding an equalizing goal in the dying minutes in back-to-back games, even if the Mertz winner papers over that fact last week. Foul, free kick. Dikwa won it.
These little stoppages in the game now play right into Pittsburgh's hands. They allow them to take control of managing the tempo of the game, slow things down, get themselves organized, stay collectively disciplined. New Mexico want the ball back in play as much as possible so they can try and create goal scoring opportunities, but Pittsburgh just taking the sting and the flow out of any momentum they can gain.
Out of 89 minutes, the ball has only been in play tonight for 49. They've successfully taken away a lot of the sing-songy approach that so often allows New Mexico to grab control. Offside. That is a self-inflicted wound for the Riverhounds as we approach stoppage time.
I think that ball in place, that kind of plays into the discussion that's going on right now about the lengthy additional time that's being added on in some competitions right now, where added time is becoming 10, 8, 9 minutes.
They're going to call it 5 tonight. There's the number from the 4th.
As you can see now, Portillo's on the ball. He's sending everybody forward, bar the goalkeeper, who we've actually seen goalkeepers lately getting on the score sheet in the final moments of games.
We have. Portillo. First ball's away. Moar is going to race over. The goal by Portillo at the spot was the 13th in the last quarter hour of a game scored by New Mexico this year. That's the 3rd best number in the entire championship. They have had some great concluding efforts. Only Phoenix and San Diego have done more.
Borgelin wins that header.
Cross through, that apparently untouched.
It's great technique, great half volley, but it's absolutely nobody.
0 for New Mexico. 4 minutes to play. All the way from Albuquerque. And they steal something here. Bailey. Obregon after it. Astorga. All the way down to Thomas. Flick on header. Jamali Waite.
As you can see, waiting to take this set piece, taking the sting out of the game, completely killing any momentum. Referee actually giving him a little bit of leniency, allowing him to take that long to get the ball back into play.
Bailey. With the legs of Ibarra, Mertz has taken it away. Etu. Bruce. Sprays in behind Waite. Takes the step back into the penalty area.
Using every bit of experience he has now just to kill the clock and let the seconds tick away.
I just showed you the expected goals. What's your thought on that? New Mexico 2.34, Pittsburgh 0.92.
Still a little bit of time remaining.
And it didn't really feel like New Mexico, while they've had the better chances in the run of play, because of the numerical superiority of the set piece chances by Pittsburgh, it didn't feel quite that noticeable. Dikwa, by the way, won 5 fouls tonight, most of anybody, so while he doesn't leave with a goal, if he does in fact see Pittsburgh win this, he did have a significant role in getting it done, showing me off the bench. 5th and final change for Pittsburgh.
Etu with a no-nonsense defending there, clearing the ball upfield.
Foul from showing me.
Referee brings it back as the set piece was taken while the ball was rolling.
Minute and a half to play. Driven ball that Waite will corral. This might be an enormous night for Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay still level with Memphis. They'll secure their first home playoff game since 2019. It'll also move 5 points clear for first in the East. Pending that Memphis-Tampa Bay result. They started half an hour later than we did. Portillo. Well, it's got to be now for New Mexico. Thomas.
45 seconds left. New Mexico have to get this ball forward.
Got by Bailey, but there's Moreno. All deflected out of midfield. Comes to Yearwood. Half a minute. Portillo. Trio of white shirts, 4 defending at the halfway line. Header down, dangerous challenge, free kick.
One more chance in this game.
Time to get the keeper forward.
One more chance in this game.
Moar won it. See how the Hounds coaching staff felt about that. We've gone the 5 minutes.
From this distance, Portillo has to be looking for one of his teammates.
Thomas is forward. Ball ahead. Snapped away. Shot at frame by Borgelin.
Thought I saw a hand in there somewhere.
Full time. It's over. Pittsburgh has secured a home playoff game for the first time in 5 seasons. They knock off New Mexico, take the full allotment with a dominant aerial display. 2-1 to remain atop the East.
And you could see there from Bob Lilly, despite winning the game, he's still not happy. He's always wanting more from his players, always wanting more from his team, and it's a good trait that he never gets complacent. He's always looking for ways for improvement, ways to be better, ways to be the best they can be.
Ordonez and Farrell, the goals for Pittsburgh. They concede a penalty late on. The home fans will go home happy tonight. And while the goals came from Ordonez and Farrell, the assists critical tonight. Our Heineken man of the match, Kenardo Forbes.
Outstanding deliveries tonight, all of them. The first 2 goals, then we're like, oh, he can't do it again. Yes, he did do it again. Then he did it. Then we're like, can't do it 4 times in a row. And yes, he did do it 4 times in a row. I think Kenardo Forbes, it wasn't just his set pieces. He was also good in the run of play, in midfield, creating opportunities, breaking up plays. It's the Kenardo Forbes that we've been accustomed to seeing year after year in the USL Championship.
And that's why he's tonight's man of the match, presented by Heineken. A little bit of temper in this one. Pittsburgh had to show their mettle. New Mexico comes away with nothing. 12th home win of the year for Pittsburgh in the league, most in the championship. The wrap-up is coming up after these messages and a word from your local station.
At AHN, we see you when everything's going great, and when that's not the case at all. We see you needing expert care every single day, and excited for all that's to come. At AHN, we see you.
It's Fan Appreciation Night at Highmark Stadium on Saturday, September the 30th, as the Riverhounds host Tulsa. In the regular season finale, everyone in attendance has a chance to win a big prize, including season tickets for next season and a team-signed jersey. Tickets are going fast, so get yours now at riverhounds.com/tickets. That's riverhounds.com/tickets.
Bob Lilly speaking to the team post-game here. The rain is thankfully given way, but Bob Lilly rains down upon his team. They win, but the tail end of this game got a little close for comfort. 2-1 the final as Pittsburgh extend their lead atop the East. With Chris Nurse, Mike Watts, let's walk you through the full-time highlights in this game. It was all about set pieces for Pittsburgh. If they do this well the rest of the way, they could win the whole thing.
Yeah, set pieces are such a key moment in games, and here you can see he attacks the ball with so much aggression. Kenardo Forbes' delivery is spot on, perfect. Makes no mistake putting this into the back of the net for Farrell. 1-0 Pittsburgh.
Skip ahead to the 37th minute. It's like a mirror opposite.
Deja vu. This time it's Otero. Forbes delivering the in-swinging corner. Again, he's up above everybody. His timing of the header is perfection. 2-0.
Could easily be 3-0. Instead, the woodwork saves the day.
Farrell again here attacking this great header. 2 inches lower, it's in the back of the net. He has himself a brace. He can thank the crossbar there.
It's still Forbes, this time looking for Dikwa.
Brilliant delivery again from Forbes. Dikwa on the back post. Could have took the golden boot race ahead. Zico on the line, clears it. You can see here Dikwa thought it was in, but referee was having none of it.
In the 81st minute, this is how New Mexico got back into the game. Yearwood, that's a handball.
Yearwood came into the game, outswinging delivery, but Portillo made no mistake from the spot. Buries this into the side net and great penalty kick. Gets his team back in the game with the remaining 10 minutes.
Full-time stats, chance for your final thoughts on this affair.
As we saw, for me, the game was predominantly dominated by Pittsburgh. Despite them not having possession, the possession that New Mexico had was in their defensive third and in the midfield third. They weren't really able to sustain meaningful possession in the final third. They weren't able to convert their chances in open play. Did get the opportunity to get back in the game with a penalty kick, but unfortunately didn't do enough tonight to get those 3 points.
And notably, stat-wise, Deke was stuck on 17, tied for the Golden Boot lead. Meanwhile, 9 assists for Forbes. He now leads the league. A look at the Eastern Conference standings. These are live. Tampa Bay, if they only get 1 point, and Charleston coming away 2-0 up in the 70th minute, Charleston would move into second, and it would be a 4-point lead over the Battery, a 5-point lead over the team of the game in hand, the Rowdies, that they see in October.
Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of distance now between Pittsburgh and Charleston. That 4-game gap means that Pittsburgh now have 2 games that the opponents would need to be able to overtake them. So it really gives them some breathing space going into the last few games of the season.
And the Hounds are now the first team in the league to 60 points. Take a look at the Western Conference. Colorado Springs leads their game against Sacramento 1-0 at halftime. This has dual meanings. It means the team is pulling away from New Mexico out of that 40-point pack. It also means Sacramento wouldn't be keeping up with Pittsburgh for the overall #1 seed race.
Yeah, and if you're looking at New Mexico, they played 31 games. El Paso played 29, Rio Grande played 29, Oakland played 29. So tonight was a great opportunity for them to gain ground on the teams above. You can see a number of teams stuck on 40, El Paso just below. Tonight was really a missed opportunity for New Mexico. They've really got to get it going soon.
Both teams are going home. New Mexico will see Louisville on the 30th of September, next Saturday night. FC Tulsa pays a visit. Fan Appreciation Night here at Highmark for Pittsburgh. The Riverhounds just dominant in the air. What a performance by their 2 center backs, and of course the maestro, King Kenny Canardo Forbes. New Mexico makes it tight late. It's not enough for Chris Nurse, our entire team in Pittsburgh, braving the elements and beyond. Mike Watt saying thanks for watching and have a good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.